I'll call the meeting to order at 6:03 PM, and the first agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Second agenda item is correspondence, visitors, and public comments, and I do not see anybody online, and our audience consists of people who will be speaking tonight. Then we have the agenda review, which Laura's not here tonight, so Julie will take off 8B until the next meeting.
Yes.
And then we've got the approval for the minutes of August 27th, if somebody
I
would like
have
to
an amendment I'd like to make after you get a motion.
Don make the motion. Do I have a second?
Oh, they weren't linked.
Stephanie is second. Question, comments, changes?
Okay, my amendment is, if you go to 5E, that was the MVSD football scoreboard update. I believe there needs to be an amendment, but I'm not sure what the amendment should say. But it says, Laura McAllister explained funding by years and what the difference is, all right? But then it says the funding is in the budget and can hopefully be moved forward in the spring. And I think we may need a little more specificity. I think it's funding for the football program scoreboard, but I don't think it's a scoreboard. It's the support.
That
Right.
is in the budget for this year. It was confusing initially because people were talking about next year
Yeah.
in the initial explanation. So the funding to fully install it is in the FY25
Right,
budget.
but if you read this last sentence, I just want, if I read that, not having been part of the discussions, I would think that the budget has all the money for the scoreboard. And I don't think that's true. I think the group is raising money for the scoreboard. And what we approved, once Laura told it was in the budget, was all the things that are going to be needed, the wiring, a number of little things that are going to come to thousands of dollars, so that the people raising the money don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And I'm not sure that's what this says. But if everybody feels comfortable with this, I'll leave it alone. I just thought it should be a little more specific, and it certainly should be amended in what the difference is in funding in the budget. I think funding for the football program, because that's what we're talking about.
So if it's all right with you, all as a board, if you want to approve that, I can work with Bonnie to elaborate that section a little
Okay.
bit more.
All right, I'd appreciate that.
So everybody in approval of the minutes for August 27th with the amendment of clarifying it's for the football program and the additional funds would be put into the
That are in the budget.
Put into the budget, are in the budget. Please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Huh? Yeah, I'm waiting for
Pierrette's not here tonight?
Prioret says
Garrett
yes.
says yes.
Rennick?
I don't see him. Oh, there he is.
Yes, okay. So, 702. Joanne and I will both be abstaining. Correct, Joanne?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Next agenda item is the administrative reports, starting with MVU from Dan and Christie. Did anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to make about the report?
I had a comment, I don't know if it was Christie or Dan, probably Christie, talked about the honoring the substitute teachers. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Um,
I will get going on it.
Yep.
I do have one comment, because I have been approached by more than one person this year with the start of school about what the COVID rules are from your children. Has anything gone out to families? You know, if you're if you're sick, stay home with your fever, and if it's, you know, maybe a reminder about, you know, COVID just follows that policy. If you're sick with a fever, to stay home.
Our school nurse has sent some guidance to our faculty, but I don't think anything has gone directly home.
I think that would be good, because I've had about 4 people.
The rule at this point is.
Stay home if you're sick.
If you have a fever, stay home, 24 hours fever-free with any illness, including COVID.
Right, which I think just a reminder, because I think people are still unsure, so that would be good.
Julie, would you like us to use the bright arrow to send that message out, or is that?
I would work with Alyssa to see what makes
Okay.
the most sense.
I have a family newsletter going out on
Perfect.
Friday. I have just a little blurb, but it only goes to the middle school, so let's talk about how we'll do it school-wide.
Yes, my response was fever-free, same as if you had the flu, et cetera, but
Well,
I think it'll
people
stop
said
some
that. I said
confusion.
something.
And homecoming,
I
again,
always like the
reminds
central
me of
office
last year,
reports.
Yeah.
of the Triple E being inside. When I read that, I was like, oh, this is like a flashback from last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, we just don't want to take the risk.
Right.
You know, with an outdoor dance, which is
At
something
night.
we had planned on all along, but just to take the risk of being outside. I don't want to use the term unnecessarily, but it can be unnecessarily from 7 to 9 p.m. And just to take that risk. So we're just going to move it inside, and we'll plan on the activities being inside,
Perfect.
just out of caution.
Caution. Yep.
So, sorry, I just, on the Triple E, is there any recommendation as far as like spraying? Is the state recommending anything for our area or the Albert area? I know it's another close one. I know that's,
We are just listed as a high-risk area and to take precautions and try not to be outside between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Long sleeves, bug spray with DEET, et cetera, they have a whole
just
list.
personal.
I don't think.
Yeah,
it-
nothing for the grounds that we could help.
Yeah, are
No.
we spraying or anything? Like,
This-
can we spray?
I don't even know. I don't know, it's just,
They have not recommended widespread spraying. The state talks about doing that occasionally, but I think because the window is a short period of time
between first frost, is that what they're?
the first frost.
It's gonna be 80 on next week, I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be 80, mid-80s all next week, so yeah. So
Yeah.
we're trying to limit our outside activities as much as possible. Some practices have been moved up a little bit so that they're not going beyond that time. And John Lumsden bought enough bug spray to last. And each team's got multiple cans, and when we have home games, we give cans to the other, let them borrow them. Not giving them to them, but let them borrow that in case any other players want to use it.
Good. Nice. Any other questions or comments for Dan or Christie?
Really appreciate putting in the fall sports schedule.
Yes.
That's really nice. Be nice to have all this scheduled so we know what's going on, so appreciate that. And looking at the cross-country, Schwinnier Farm on the 21st of September coming right up, and then a home meet at MVU on the 5th, and then it's showing the championships on October 26th at MVU, so it's going to be well represented here, so that's great.
I made the comment earlier that I enjoy reading central office, the different reports. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're deep, but they're always good.
Great. Then next we have the district office, excuse me, the district office reports. Any questions, comments, or would
Am I
anybody
allowed
like
to
to
ask a
highlight?
probing question? I would actually love to hear a little from Kosha about the math study, because it's pretty interesting, and I think we're the only district in Vermont that's part of that study.
Sure. The federal government is funding this study. They really want to figure out why there's a drop in math achievement in grades 4 and 5. And so they hired this company to recruit schools from all over the country to participate in the study. We are seeing similar trends, so Swanton and Highgate are going to participate in the study, and it will be really looking at our STAR data for 4th and 5th grade. The students will also be put into 2 different groups, which is it's a blind research study, so we don't know which group the kids will be in. And one of the groups will receive the FRECTAL, which is their intervention program. They will receive instruction in filling all the gaps that are missing from prior years. And then the second group will receive supplemental instruction in just the missing gaps from the current unit of study. So if you're in a current unit of study, it will go back to all the missing skills from prior years. So what the federal government really wants to figure out is, can digital tools be used to help to fill those math gaps from prior years? And if it can be, which approach is going to be the most effective? So our students will be participating for 2 years, and we are really, really excited. Our 2 math coaches, Kristen Hughes at Highgate, and then Kelly Hyde, who's our new math coach at Swanton, will be helping to coordinate the work in their buildings. And we've had several meetings with the company and with Renaissance, since we're using STAR already in our district. So we'll be getting, not only will be participating in the federal study, they will also be doing data analysis for us and giving us information about what our students are doing. So it's really exciting. And as Julie said, we were the only ones from Vermont who volunteered to participate, and there are 75 schools across the country who are participating in this research. All our data is all encrypted, so there's no student names being shared, it's just the data that's being shared. But it will give us important information about what is the best approach to math intervention using this digital tool. It's very exciting.
Very nice.
That come out to us when we know what
So-
the results are, where we need to.
They'll be giving us ongoing data all through the year, so I can report back. But it's starting this year, 2024, and will go to 2026. Yeah, so I will share whatever data I get.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
Put you on the spot. Would you like to highlight anything with the start of the new school year? How things are going for you? Just a little highlight.
Yes, so in the board report, I shared some of the preparations from the early childhood program. We spent a few days together taking care of our mandatory trainings that we have to do annually or every other year, the CPR and first aid. That's all part of the licensing regulations. And then getting ready for these shifts in our state's quality rating system, the STARS program. This year will be the first time our classrooms are assessed using the classroom assessment scoring system. So We did a little work at the end of last school year to go over that tool and what they'll be looking at. And then this year we shared that also with support staff, because when the assessor comes in the classroom, they're really looking at all of the children and adults in the classroom. Our first class observations are the 23rd in Swanton, the 24th in Highgate, and then I believe October 4th or 5th in Franklin. So just wanting staff to feel comfortable in what the assessors will be looking at. This is a no-fault year. We opted to reapply for our STARS level. Right now, the program has been revamped and there are changes happening as it's being implemented. So they allowed for no-fault applications. So regardless of what our scores are, we will maintain our same 5-star status, which is great. That'll give us 3 years to keep that while we go through our first cycle of our continuous quality improvement work, which is a bigger task than previously STARS applications. Our site directors would work on them, and it was really kind of just gathering a bunch of paperwork and evidence and checking off lists and that sort of thing. And now the new revamped STARS really is for everybody on the team to sit down, take a look at our data from our assessments, and make some goals for the program, implement them over time, measure how those are going. So it's just a continuous cycle of that, and that's how we'll build a portfolio for when we reapply in 3 years from now, and our STARS will be based on the score at that time. So it's a shift, and the teams did a great job leaning into learning about this. It can be a little nerve-wracking to have something new and have an assessor come in when you're so used to being scored on the teapot is what we used to use, and we use the teapot with the Pyramid 802, who is supporting coaching work over the last couple of years. So it's a shift, but the classroom assessment scoring system really measures the quality of adult-child interactions, and those are what are shown to really make the biggest difference in a student coming in and getting acclimated to being at school and learning how to do the routines of the classroom, learning how to follow directions and focus their attention. It's really having those nurturing adults around them. So it's a good thing to be measuring. So we're looking forward to seeing how that first round goes, and keep you posted. Yes. Thanks for asking.
Is this initiated by the Secretary of Education's office, Department of Education, or?
This is through the Child Development Division. So the STARS, the Step Ahead Recognition System, is the one that's been in place since I think you were involved in a lot of things going on when that first came on.
So that's AHS.
Right.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of opposition to it when we brought it in, mainly from superintendents and principals, but other than that, it was all right. But I just wonder, who's driving the changes? Is it for the better, or is it because somebody has a bee in a bonnet?
You're asking my opinion.
You don't know yet, that's for sure.
That's right, and I can report that we're going to be assessed using the classroom assessment scoring system, and
But
we're going to
it's-
be ready for it.
But it's a statewide.
Yes,
so,
and with the changes being proposed for universal pre-K and everything, who knows in the next 3 years, right, what it could look like if we'll be under a new branch of an agency, you know, if those proposed changes will come into effect, but just kind of have to wait and see and prepare for what we have now in front of us.
Keep us informed.
I will.
So nervous but excited.
Oh, I'm actually really familiar with the class. I was a certified assessor myself at my previous position, so I really believe in what it measures, and I believe in the impact that it can have for kids when teams are really focused on those interactions in the classroom. I think there's a lot of great resources that the team has available to them now to talk about those and really train up our support staff, and so I'm excited about it. I wish I could calm everyone's nerves so that they could get through it and then be on the other side and be like, okay, that wasn't so bad, because really there's so many great things going on in our pre-K classrooms, and with the work we've done with pyramid model over the last few years, we're really in a good position to do well. It is one part of the assessment that is the most challenging part is the one related to the teaching and learning piece. So the relationship piece, pre-K does really well, but the class is really specific around teaching and learning strategies at this age level, right down to the number of back and forth interactions you have with a student and how many words you're getting them to say back to you. And so that's the part I think that people are kind of nervous about, because everybody wants to get an A, right? Everybody wants 100. They want to do the very best they can. And to know from the get-go that that particular domain is an area that is very challenging to get that highest score in is a little pressure. So, but yeah, I'll be excited to tell you how it goes.
Hopefully they won't forget that kids need to have fun.
Absolutely.
And Beth Ann, you're online, but if you want to give us just a quick little something to highlight from.
Absolutely. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I've come down with that really fun fever you all were just talking about. Yeah, our program started this week. So we are, as of Monday, sort of ironing out some of the bumps along the way, but for the most part, we've got full programs in Swanton and Highgate, which is fantastic. And Franklin added on 3rd grade for the first time in our history of programming, which is super exciting for us. And our site coordinator, Elsa, has been really intentional about making sure our 3rd graders feel welcomed while our 6th graders don't feel alienated, if that makes sense. So she's split them up into groups of 3rd and 4th graders and then 5th and 6th graders, and it seems like it's going very well over in Franklin so far. MVU has a historically high enrollment rate, which is also wonderful for us. Beyond the Bell has several different clubs running, and many of them will actually kick into effect in October. That's when most of our staff actually, some of our stellar rock star staff members are actually employees over at Lake Carmi, so they have to wait for their season to wrap up before we can really kick into gear with their programs. But overall, it seems like we are on the right path.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Beth Ann. Any questions? All right, so.
Well, one thing I just want to add, I apologize, Jen.
No problem.
Dan and Christy for helping us. We have a new space at MVU now. We're in the alternative classroom space right next to you guys right now. And this is new for us. We usually were in the commons, and already our kids are feeling that they've got a space to go to. They're really excited to claim it as their own, and part of our state after-school grant will allow us to add some fun furnishings and really allow our after-school kids to make it their own. So thank you again, Dan and Christy, for sharing that space with us.
All right. Next agenda item is going to be presentations and discussion items. First one is MVU ELA Department Chair Word Study presentation. And the second one's going to be on hold until our student is done playing his game.
And they just went into overtime.
They're in overtime. So,
Well, fingers crossed.
Tied it up.
Going into overtime means it's a good game right now.
so we have Miranda Becker here. And there is
Come on
a
up.
seat here for you. I will, you just get to tell me when to advance your slides.
Okay.
All of that.
Okay. Hi, I'm Miranda Becker. I am the English department head and also the literacy coach in 7 through 12 here at MVU. Dan invited me here to talk about year 1 of MVU's 5-year literacy plan. So we really have 2 goals rolled out with full faculty during our August in-service. The first is to increase students' ability to break down unfamiliar words through specific word parts or morphology instruction. The second one is to increase the amount of time that students are spending reading and writing during their day here, not just in English classrooms. So this guy is Kelly Gallagher. He is a leading researcher in the literacy field right now. And he says that we should be spending 60 minutes reading daily and 40 minutes writing daily. We collected some data at the end of last year in the spring, and we're not hitting those goals. So hopefully in the spring when we collect some more data, we can be closer to those numbers. Our second goal, there's a little less flexibility on the part of teachers with morphology because it's complicated, and we want to make sure that teachers have the skills that they need to feel confident to deliver this instruction. They have a little more flexibility with increasing reading and writing time because they can mostly do that on their own with a little bit of support maybe with helping kids access complex text. With morphology, morph means, you can click through, I think there's 3. It's a root, so that means to take shape, so it's a verb, not the noun, so not like triangles and circles. And logi is a suffix that means the study of, and in the context of literacy, morphology really means the study of the shape that words take. And this work that we just broke down is exactly what we're going to ask kids to do. That's why I'm presenting it in this way. So we're asking kids to break apart words that they're unfamiliar with into small pieces to make meaning. You can hit the next slide again. So when I say morphology or word parts, I'm also talking about these terminology, so prefix, root, and suffix. These are the terms that we front-loaded with teachers during in-service. Each grade level team has a set number of word parts, so 20 to 30 on average, that they're responsible for teaching throughout the year, and it's directly connected to their curriculum. There's a lot of research about why we should be teaching morphology in grades 7 through 12 and the younger grades too. I tried to condense it into bite-sized pieces here, but so studying morphology benefits all content areas. That's a big reason we chose to focus year 1 on morphology. It increases text comprehension across different fields. It also improves reading comprehension, vocab acquisition, spelling, and word recognition. Students can unlock the meaning of 250 new words approximately per year if they know the top 20 prefixes and suffixes. And our goal is that all 7th and 8th graders are working with those top 20 prefixes and suffixes. So in 2 years, all students coming into high school will be very familiar and really experts with those. And then more generally, vocabulary is linked to conceptual knowledge development. So the more time we're spending on vocab, the more we're increasing students' knowledge as well. That's all I have. I anticipate that there were probably some questions.
I just want to say that last year when you were starting it, it wasn't school-wide yet, but in the spring, we had a big parent event, and we had some team leaders, and they were having a discussion. One of the students was using the word infamous incorrectly, and her friend was explaining about the prefix of in and what it meant. And it was just, and I just had the best time watching, and it just really is such a high leverage thing to be teaching kids, and it's that next step from the phonics knowledge, and it's just really exciting. And the fact that you're doing it across the curriculum and not just having it. I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about what it looks like in social studies and science.
Yep. So in the spring of last year, I worked with department leaders in their department meetings to collect vocab that teachers were already teaching in their curriculum. And then from those vocab lists by grade level, I sat down with our interventionists. We have 3 of them. And we looked for patterns basically in word parts. And so from there, we developed their lists. So I'm trying to think of an example of something science specific. But if we saw a prefix appear in math, so I'll just say tree for triangle, If that appeared more than once, that was probably a word that eligible class was going to be working with, or a word part that they'd be working with. So we were really looking to find patterns so that we weren't creating more work for people or changing curriculums. It's really work to support the curriculum that they're already teaching and to help kids better access it. So all of those word parts lists went out during our August in-service. We did a lot of work helping teachers learn some of this language, specifically prefix, suffix, root. We've done some work around pretenders and providing resources to help teachers break words down if they're not feeling super confident in doing that yet. Our next literacy faculty meeting is next week actually, so we're spending some time all year during professional development days, our in-service days and our meetings, providing instructional strategies for teachers. So next week, we'll be giving people the actual instructional strategies. So like, how do I teach this stuff? Whereas the last meeting was what is it and what am I teaching? So we're trying to break it down in pretty tangible ways for people. I don't know if that entirely answers your question or if I'm missing anything.
We piloted some of this work last year in the middle school during WIN by asking science and social studies teachers to start culling their curriculum for words that are really have a lot of leverage, right? So if you know these words, it's going to help you not only know other things, but also access our curriculum in a meaningful way. And it went really well. And while my remembering vocabulary study was pretty much, flashcards and just rote memorization, Miranda and her team has done a lot of work around games, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can you use different kinds of games? Some active games, some moving around, some team games, and like some traditional vocab strategies to learn those words and start making them. So that's a piece that's kind of coming in, and some middle school teachers will be a little more familiar than the high school, but that's pretty exciting because I would go into some of those WIN classes and they were really having fun with some of those vocab games and learning something.
The other thing that I like about morphology is that it's helpful for all kids. It's helpful for struggling readers who have a really hard time approaching big words, but it's also helpful for your kids who want to go to college and take SATs because they're going to see questions about morphology on SATs. So it's really targeting our entire population and not just a specific group of students.
I'm sure that, excuse me, both of you are very familiar with the spelling bees, the statewide spelling bees that they have. Have you ever heard of a vocabulary bee?
I have not.
It might be an idea that you would want to talk about sometime. It does happen. I don't know how much it happens in Vermont, and it's certainly not as well organized at the state level. But sometime you have some time, and
Yeah, I'll look
I'll
into
give my
that.
phone number. I'll tell you a little bit about the one I'm familiar with.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it's still around, but it was. And probably more, I think it's flexible, but it probably was more the rote, you had 20 vocabulary words each week, and then you had it, but anyway, something to think about if you want to be
Yeah,
creative.
that's cool.
So in the first part, you were talking about increasing reading time and writing time. So what strategies do you have to do that, and then how do you measure that?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, I'm working on a subcommittee within our leadership team, and one of the two goals that we're working toward is increasing reading and writing in the classrooms. And so part of it is department leaders going into their department meetings and asking for that, asking for teachers to put text in front of kids. Did I fully answer that question?
I think so. I didn't know how elaborate it's gonna be, but so you're using the existing classes to try to get them to get more reading in front of the
Yes.
students.
Yes, so I think, I don't want to overgeneralize, but when you have 20 students in a room and you have 9 students who struggle with reading,
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy as a social studies teacher, for example, to read a text aloud to a kid, to make sure that they're getting the content, which is really harmful over time if students are never reading in any classroom outside of their English classes. So the idea is, instead of having your social studies teacher read the text to you, let's have kids interact with it and read it themselves. And that requires providing some support to teachers around helping students access that text if they are a struggling reader.
So you do the same thing with writing?
We're trying to increase writing times, yes, outside of English classrooms.
Because me personally, when writing was, it was always getting started was the hardest part.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's
Very true.
strategies for that to help students at least get some ideas down on paper.
Yep. Yes. I think we're trying to mostly focus on reading right now. It's overwhelming to bring writing into the conversation. I'm hoping maybe the second half of the year or even beginning of next, we're focusing more purposefully on writing, but right now we're trying to focus more on reading.
Okay.
Related to Peter's comment and question, if we're trying to increase, reading and writing time within classrooms, that I think fundamentally is going to change how a class is run, is outside of classroom reading and writing, like I'm thinking homework, we don't really assign homework. Is that something that would help students in the long run because they would be able to have this extra time?
I don't know if I understand the question. So you were thinking that there is maybe extra time in the class period?
No, I'm saying that if we're trying to increase the amount that students are reading and writing, if we're doing that, are we changing the overall format of the class because we have to adjust to increase these two areas? Could we still maintain how teachers are teaching, reading aloud and whatnot, and then having those extra hours of reading and writing take place outside of the classroom?
So I do think that there'll be some small shifts in the classroom. It takes time to read, and that is probably the biggest
Right.
ask. And the part of the classroom teacher is giving kids the space to actually grapple with the text. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest shift, I would say. When a teacher reads a text, it's quite fast, and that will be a challenge probably.
I don't know about the outside.
Well, certainly, I think I can't speak for every teacher, but I think that every English teacher encourages kids to read outside of the school day. We just don't have control over that. And so I think that that's the hard part, right? To ensure that we're getting to that 60 minutes a day, we have to do it here because we can't control what happens once they leave. So I think it's finding those small pieces throughout the day. For instance, it warmed my heart the other day. I was in homeroom. I was in a homeroom, and once a week, the homeroom silent reads. Not every day, right? So out of 5 homerooms, right, they're only reading once, but still, one time a week, that whole grade level is reading during homeroom. And so there's 20 minutes, probably 15, right? But 15 minutes extra that day that they wouldn't have read before, that they're doing now, in part because of this goal, right? Because when teachers saw the numbers of minutes kids were reading and that it wasn't up to 60, some of them were surprised. They're like, oh, we would have thought throughout the day they read more than that. So we all need to do just a little bit more, right? 5 minutes. If we all did 5 minutes more, right? And so I think that, so yes, I also think that once you start reading in class more, and kids start reading in class more, they start reading alone more too, because they have the confidence to do that. Or they start something in class and they're like, I'm gonna take that home and read it. So yes, and I think it's both of those.
Thank you.
So, not to belabor it, but I think reading is great, but how do we know that they're comprehending it?
That's a really good question.
I know that sorry, not to
No,
interrupt,
go
but I
ahead.
know in one of the observations that I did last year, in regards to one of the English teachers, they would silent read for about the first 15 minutes. They'd put a timer up, read for the first 15 minutes, and the teacher would usually get about 3 students and spend about 5 minutes of, what are you reading, what's going on with this character? And the teachers often had a really good familiarity with the book. It wasn't always the same book, because you wanted to have the students read something of their interest level. But the teacher would ask a lot of probing questions to kind of make sure that they were kind of comprehending what was going on. So there were some check-ins that I was able to see, at least in the observations from the English teachers.
Do any classes have like a book that they're required to read and have like, because I found it very helpful to have book discussions, because you hear things that people picked up that you didn't, and maybe stuff that you picked up that other people didn't. And to your point earlier, it encourages people to read, right? Because they find it, more interesting, more enjoyable. If you're not just reading it, putting it down, you're actually, bringing it and conversing with other people about the subject.
Yep, stories are meant to be shared, and it creates the communities that we want in our classrooms. I know in the English department, 7 through 12, it's a really balanced approach. So some units, students are all reading the same book. Other units, we are reading book club approaches. So 5 or 6 students are reading one book and talking about that, while
Nice.
another 5 or 6 students are reading another book. My goal is to, over time, so like within the next year or so, sort of push out the book club approach to other departments. And I've talked with Julie Curtis about that for social studies.
That would be good.
This question's for Christian. Do any of the teachers in middle school read to students? Because there's a lot of research out there, at least there was, that age child, depending on the book, of course, and their interest, really like to be read to. And when I first heard that many years ago, I kind of thought, I'm not sure, I know elementary kids, but it's really true that they like to be read to.
Yeah, they do.
They do First Chapter Friday is a typical routine, and so they will choose a book or 2. Sometimes it's more than one, and they'll read just the first chapter to kids, and talk a little bit about what that book is about, and put
Good,
it down.
that's wonderful.
Read another one and just try to get some excitement going about the books. So that's a particular routine they do, but on any given day they could be reading even just a passage out of the book. Yeah.
It's also really helpful in terms of fluency and syntax for a teacher to model a chapter with a new narration before kids have to go and try to do it themselves, especially with a complex text, and teachers know that. So we do, English teachers for sure know that. We're working on it everywhere else. But it's kind of a gradual release situation. So we read a chapter. If it looks like kids are confident to start on their own, we'll shift that back to them. If they're not, we'll read another chapter aloud and then shift to them. And that's not always necessary, but they do love it, like you said. And it builds confidence before setting them off on their own.
You'd think normally, certainly history teachers or teachers of history, but there's some exciting stuff out there in science. I don't know how our science teachers feel, but if a science teacher got into it, it's really turns students on to maybe a career. Good, very interesting, nice job.
My only comment was going to be is, before you and Christy both started talking about it, is how enthusiastic the kids were about it, but it seems like you're making it so they're quite involved now. enthusiastic about it, which is good, because the more enthusiastic they are, the more they're gonna wanna do it, the more they're gonna learn. Excellent. Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Jen, what I understand is that we are in double overtime. So our next,
It's all done
So we're
now.
gonna go watch the game.
They only do
and
2 overtimes, yeah.
cheer
So,
them on.
Really doesn't want to come, does he?
Yeah, so,
it's all done, so
so he's,
I went quickly, so.
Would he rather us do it another time instead of having to like rush?
he was super excited to do
Okay.
this. He
Okay.
wanted
I
to skip
just
the
wanna
game.
make sure that.
He literally said he was gonna
he would
stay
be
and come to
kicking
this.
himself now. if
Yes,
he
he would
missed
be.
that
He
game.
was
And if
super
they win,
excited.
he's gonna be even more excited. He's gonna come in here full
Carter has
forward.
presented to you
I
guys
hope we
before,
don't get
and he was, when I asked him about it, he was like, oh yeah, I'll skip the game. I'm like, no, you're not skipping the game.
No.
I'll come, like, no, you're going to the game first. Like, and of course, it just happens to go into double overtime. So,
That's fine.
I'm sure he will be here really soon, but, he wanted to kind of talk, I wanted him to kind of talk about his experience with Boys State and then going on to Boys Nation. Because it really was, I mean, it's a fantastic, what he did was fantastic. And so I want him to be able to share that with you because it's really, it's the teachers who help select the students that go on to Boys and Girls State. And then from there, they get selected, we have a meeting, and then they go, and then, of course, it was good, it's great stuff.
That's fine, Will.
Yep, so I'm sure he'll
Definitely.
be here soon, but.
Excellent.
I don't think there's anything we can't drop.
Right.
Do they end up telling us?
Right, so next we're gonna skip to the warrants, which will require action for approval. Who's gonna read those? Elaine?
Should be linked to the agenda.
Nope, they're not linked.
No?
So that's. Yes, that's it. Okay, so accounts payable, $864,126.58. Payroll checks, $52,875.48. Payroll other disbursements, $2,500,478.08. Payroll deductions, $584,646.61, for a total of $4,002,126.75.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the warrants as read?
I'll make that.
Thank you, Megan. Second? Thank you, Stephanie. Questions or comments about? Alright. All those in favor of passing the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Rennick and Purette.
Yep,
Purettes, yep, that, perfect. Thank you. Motion carries 9-0.
Did you say B and C are moved because Laura's number? Did I hear that
Um,
correct?
Just
B.
B.
Just B, okay.
Yep. So,
So, because we have a development review board on the 26th of September, so. Board members will remember, I'm going to share this. I can't talk and share at the same time. Here it is. Board members will remember that we had a presentation from the select board about a trade in property line. You can see the surveyed plat here. The piece of land here that belongs to the town that was previously called the the Interfaith Council property. It belongs to the town. landowner and neighbor Brian Rowell owns this land, and the town of Swanton wanted to do a trade. Because here is the town garage, they wanted some land right here to expand that space behind the town garage. We have our access road right here that is mostly on our property, but right in this space right here, it was on Mr. Rowell's property, and here it was on the town's property. So in all, we have, all three parties have negotiated, and the district is receiving all of this area in pink as a boundary adjustment from both Mr. Rowell, that's the green, and the pink from the town. That will make sure that our access road is on our property and that we have a nice buffer here. It's, I think, 70 feet at this point.
Yes.
If I'm remembering Jason's description yesterday, Peter, you walked it with Jason and the folks. We've looked at this, and Jason thinks that it looks exactly as represented.
So we reviewed this last night in our facilities meeting, and as Julie just said, so the green part and the pink part is all what is going to become district property. The green is Mr. Rowell's currently, and the pink is owned by the town. So that is all going to be transferred to the district. Jason did discuss it last night. There's new markers out there, and he went out and measured, and everything is right, and he said we have a very nice buffer now. Is that this road that goes through here, the stakes were literally right on the edge of the road. Currently that's where they are, so we're going to get an extra 70 feet buffer into there, so that's really nice. And then of course the corner there where the pit starts, that will get that property as well. They actually have the batting cage up there, so all of that. And Mr. Rowell is still willing to let us use a section of that where the cross-country runs through there, right, Dan?
Yes.
So that is very generous of him to allow us to still do that as well. So the facilities committee was very much in favor of this transaction, so I'd be willing to make the motion to accept that and move forward with that transfer.
I'll second that, and then I have a question for Julie.
Somebody has a question?
Yeah, but maybe after we do the motion.
So Peter's the first, Donna's the second, and open for questions, discussion. Go.
You're at the one.
And,
No, I was
Sure.
pointing out.
No.
oh, you were, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pura. Did MVSD have to pay for this additional land?
No, it's gifted to us by the town and by Mr. Rowell. So every party is receiving a swap in land. Mr. Rowell is gaining land that is beneficial to him, the district is, and the town is. So it was a plan by the select board to give this to the school district and to the taxpayers of the community. So it's very appreciated.
Mr. Rowell will have access to his property through the road that we have.
Yes.
So he'll have a right of way through there.
Will we need a separate motion to name it the Palmer Way?
We don't actually get that privilege. I was going to mention.
Might fail anyway.
I did propose that, yeah.
You did strenuously.
We talked about it last night.
I'm going to give some suggestions to the select board. They have the honor of choosing the name of our access road. We'll now have an official street name. I was hoping for Missisquoi, but they named the road next to the Hannafords in Missisquoi Street, so now we can't use that. But we talked about Athletic Ave, MVU Drive, Ballpark Road seemed to be a big favorite. I don't know, Road Drive, but most people seem to glom on to Ballpark Road.
I like it.
Ballpark Highway is a little bit costly.
That's a little.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
too
I
high.
was gonna say, I don't-
I don't want to be classifying anything as a highway.
Put a lot of speed bumps in.
Yeah.
A lot of speed bumps.
Yeah.
Athletic, what was that?
Athletic
Way.
Athletic Way, Athletic Avenue.
Yeah, Avenue, I like that one. too.
You know, a little alliteration. It's not
We
bad.
can go to select board meeting in lobby.
Yeah, if I don't have another meeting that night, I'm not sure, but somebody will be attending the DRB
Oh,
for sure.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll try
we
to-
can put in the
Thank you.
pitch.
Appreciate it.
Put in the pitch for
Thank
Ballpark
you.
Road.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
All right, any other questions, comments? Everybody's good? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 9-0. So the teacher leave of absence, finding for executive session.
I would suggest that we discuss it in executive session since it's very confidential information.
Yep.
So we'll do that when we get to that part of the agenda.
And then we have the side letter of agreement. Bonnie.
Bonnie, do you want to talk about the side letter of agreement?
Sure, I'm a little discombobulated, but yes.
Well,
No, that's okay.
Okay.
So we have for the last couple of years, actually since COVID, due to a substitute shortage, we have had a side letter where we pay our educators to give up their prep period to substitute. So for the first couple of years, it was $40 for their prep period. Then last year, we moved it to $45. We would like to extend this side letter again. The principals actually came to us and requested that we have this again. It's particularly beneficial here at MVU. And we've discussed with the union, they are absolutely on board, and we would like to increase it to $50 this year. So I did put a copy of the side letter in the board drive, and we would ask that we be able to have Jen sign it and extend it for another year.
Need a motion?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to approve your recommendation. I think it's a win-win.
It is.
It is, absolutely.
Do I have a second? Dawn. Okay. Dawn's the first, Stephanie's the second. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hopefully, yes.
Purex, yes. Rennick?
I think he did a.
It's a
Oh.
double.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
double. Thank you. I don't have my.
It's sort of,
All right, motion carries 9-0. And I think Dan went to go check, so I don't want to really go into executive session quite yet. So I thought I heard the tinging of bats. Or equipment, I should say. Something. Tinging.
Do we want to do community engagement opportunities if there's anything coming up?
I think we are on
is
a
here.
Yes.
go.
but yes.
Perfect.
Welcome, Carter. Very busy night. Come and sit over here.
All right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But first the news. What was the score?
The score was 2-2, and we went into double overtime. We had multiple chances at the end, but we just couldn't get it. But it was still a really fun game, and yeah.
Double overtime is exciting. Excellent.
All right. So you want me to speak about both Boys State and then go on to Boys Nation?
Yeah, if you look,
All
that'd be great.
Well, I'm gonna spoil the ending kind of. I'm gonna give you my thoughts in the very beginning, like going into Boys State, and then my thoughts at the very end in Boys Nation. So my thoughts in the beginning, I sort of had a bias toward politics. I've seen it kind of split families apart. I've heard stories about that happening, and I just never really understood why people were so passionate about it. And then at the end, I realized that the reason for this passion is because politics is the root of literally everything that happens in like your life, and people really want to make a difference and make a change. And I got to see, multiple kids from all over the country make a change in just their community, and it was really inspiring. Like, these kids my age were actually up there with in this political status. So, Boys State experience. First of all, I'm really thankful for you to picking me to go. I ran for town clerk and I got that position. I went against 3 other people and I just listed my qualifications, like all the GPA and yada yada yada, like how I'm president of these different organizations, and then they were all sold, so they all voted for me. I ran for town clerk, and that I believe that is the main reason that I got to go to Boys Nation, because that I was selected. Because as town clerk, I had to take notes in a meeting, and I wrote 60 pages worth of notes, just a whole bunch of things that I'm not really gonna get into right now. But and then on the higher level, I ran for lieutenant governor, and there was the primary elections, of course, and I believe that people just they really liked me. So even though I didn't know all that much about politics, I still I wrote my speech at 3 a.m. I was nervous for all my speeches, and I was researching all these different things. And then I eventually beat out the competition, got lieutenant governor, and I got to moderate over in the state house, and that was really cool. So they were at the very end of Boys State. They were listing out all these scholarships and who got the scholarship, and they weren't saying my name, and I was like, dang it, maybe I should have tried harder. And then they were like, and then the runner-ups for Boys Nation, I wasn't there. The second runner-up, or the second pick to go to Boys Nation was my best friend that I made there, which is really cool. I was gonna run for governor, but I heard that he wanted to do it, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you run for governor, and I'm gonna go for lieutenant governor. We're both gonna win. And and then they were and the first pick to go to Boys Nation is Ricardo Perez. So that was insane. I had to cut my vacation short from Puerto Rico, about a week and a half short. No, it's completely fine. It was way better than I could have ever imagined. Of course, I was really nervous going into it, and from the very start, it was just a lot of work. Of course, before we even got into it, we had to write a bill. My bill was, enforcing mental health resources on high schools around the country. So I thought that was pretty good. So then we mocked the Senate there. We all became senators. We did our own little oath, which is really cool. And the experience was just unimaginable. I had no idea what I was in for this summer. I saw Kamala Harris at her first speech after being announced presidential candidacy, right? So that was cool. In the backyard of the White House, right? And it was the second annual NCAA College Athletics Day in the White House. So I played volleyball against the men's UCLA team in the backyard of the White House. It's just so cool. I can tell people I said that now. What a time to be in DC. Joe Biden dropped out of the election while we were on a bus to Fort McHenry. So traffic stopped, and we got to our location an hour late, which is insane. Protesters on the street because the Prime Minister of Israel came to Washington, D.C. Yeah, so that was really interesting. And I got to meet I'll talk about the students after this, but I got to meet Bernie Sanders, which was insane. He was really cool. He's exactly how you think he was, like straight on to the point. He sat us all down to the table. He was asking us questions, and he was just going on about his job and what he does. And I got to ask him my own question at the end, and I was like, what would you, what's one piece of advice that you would give to people who want to go into the political world, like young minds like us? And he was like, don't get into the political world if you're passionate like about one thing. Like if you're passionate about mental health, like be a psychologist and focus on that. Like you don't have to be a political leader to do such a thing, which I thought was really interesting. And and the students that I met there were absolutely incredible. Like from day one, I woke up and we had to line up, and they were already having a discussion on abortion, and I was like, what are we talking about? It's like, and they were talking about gun laws, and our first like breakfast, lunch, and dinner was just like, there was always a debate. There's just like all these young like-minded individuals who are so into politics, just debating each other. One of my favorite debates was just an atheist was on my right and a hardcore Christian was on my left, and you wouldn't think that they could like have a civil discussion, you know, but they did, and it was incredible. But I had so many opportunities from this. I did run for something. I didn't get it because, I mean, when you're going up against like all the top students from every single state who have never lost anything before, like of course you're bound to not have as high of a chance as you would if I were to run for something here maybe. So I ran for party leader, and yeah, I didn't get it, but that's completely fine. I'm happy that I got to go up front and just talk to the audience and say why I should be it. What was I gonna say? Sorry, I'm blanking right now.
That's all right.
But yeah, it was just an incredible experience. The opportunities that I got from this, I spoke to some of the students there, and they gave me an opportunity to be a chapter leader for a nonprofit organization called Green Pulse, which is really cool, which is where I basically have like a slideshow presentation that I'm going to give out to like students like from K to 12 about like the environment and information on it and pollution and stuff like that, and then we actually go out into the community and start helping like with that. I really want to get the rec involved, the library involved. I asked Amelia Partlow, she's like incredible, to like be kind of a co-chapter leader. So it was just really cool, and definitely my mindset has changed. Like I know that I can go out there and make a difference, and it's not as hard or as scary as it is, you know, as I thought it would be. And I hope that's good.
Very good.
Thank you for listening.
Did it change your mind on what you will do after high school?
I wanted to be a psychologist after high school, and I think that just strengthened my my want to do that. I've like personal history on family and friends that have mental health problems that don't get the care that they needed. There's like stigma around getting therapy and stuff like that, and it's just we really need it. And I did more of a deep dive on mental health while I was there, and so
Good, very good.
enforced it. Yeah.
You'll have to come back to Vermont to be a psychologist in rural Vermont, because there's a huge need.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds great. Any more questions?
Yeah, well, actually not a question, but a request, because you had such an amazing experience and you're going to continue on and you're getting involved with the community, and I'd actually kind of like you to come back and tell us how that's going halfway through, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'll come back. Sounds great.
Have him back in spring?
I would love to have him back, like halfway through saying, I've gone to this many grades with my slideshow, and this is, where I've gotten my community support and stuff like that. And just kind of be nice for him to come back.
You mentioned the library and different things. Do you get support from anybody to do that?
Nicole Draper. I was a youth counselor, so I know her really well, like for the entire summer, and I know the kids well, and I think I do a great job with that community at least. The library, I know the people there to an extent. Like I go there, but Amelia Partlow works at the St. Albans rec, so I can get them as well. Get them involved. And also, this is a good opportunity for people that want to get more community service hours. I can go online and say whoever needs these hours can come help me. And yeah.
Good.
I'd have to say that your summer was a lot more interesting than mine was.
Right? A little jealous.
And just that your energy, your enthusiasm, your willingness to put yourself out there, you're going to go a long ways. So congratulations on everything that you accomplished this summer and moving forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I want to second that. Just thank you for representing us so well. Not just the school district, but the town, the state. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And just, I'll add one last thing. It's, many of you know Wesley Kempton. Wesley Kempton was a teacher here, and he was a representative, one of the workers out at Boys State. And Mr. Kempton was constantly texting me saying how well Ricardo was doing. So it was great, just hearing how well he was doing and what a stand-up job he was doing. So, he's a fantastic representative of Missisquoi, and I think in anything that Ricardo has done has represented us well. From speaking last year at the Highgate Memorial Day parade and fest, and anything we've ever asked, and helping out this year with the freshman orientation, helping to run that. So he's done a fantastic job. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
What sports do you play?
I play soccer and track and field. I am a center midfield in soccer, and then track and field, my main events are javelin and high jump, and the 100 meter, but that's just to fill in the space.
I know better than that.
But yeah,
What grade are you in this year?
I'm a senior this
You are
year.
a senior this year.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your accomplishment.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll have some dinner.
So you
You've
can go have
earned
some
it.
dinner now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Has he been here for you?
Yeah. He's been fantastic kid. Yeah.
Well, Brett wants to see if he runs for governor someday. I'll have to make sure he gets that.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So Dan, those are the kind of things that we like right there.
Yeah.
If
And that's,
that makes our job easier. It's like to see some of these things that, why we're here, right?
Right.
So,
And that's kind of why I had invited him. He's a great representative of the school.
Yeah.
He's one of those kids like, what do you want me to do? I'll do it. Okay, I'll figure it out. Okay, I'll do it. Like, just absolutely willing to help out. What's that?
We can't let him graduate.
And just, but I mean, just, the hard work, and this is one of the things that I talked to him about, the hard work that you put in, getting up at 3 a.m. and writing your speech and, just constantly working on things. And, that's who he is. And again, a great representative of the school. And, again, what do you need? Okay, I'll do it. Great, fantastic. And, just always got a smile on his face and always wanted to help out. So, yeah, it's great.
I don't know, but his enthusiasm and passion
I
that
did, I
he
had,
just exploded from him just made me feel
I
like,
had his picture up on there too.
you know,
Oh, absolutely.
it was, yeah.
He's
I don't
like
know if
that
you-
every time you
Yeah.
run into, like, at the rec field, because my son is also one of the counselors in training, so like, you see him during summer camp, and he's always like that, and it's just,
It's true,
I'm always like, Ricardo's a good kid, spend time with him.
Yeah, we put it out on, I don't know if people saw it on the front sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually
Oh,
put a
yes.
picture and.
We knew he wouldn't mind having his face
No.
up.
I miss
No.
that, oh, I
I did
miss
too.
that.
I did
It's
too.
bad.
No, yeah, he, absolutely. I'm like, "Do you see your picture this morning?" Yeah, it was awesome.
You could have put Ricardo
Yeah.
for president or something. You know, it was just like, wow, that was great. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, you're
Okay.
back.
He's back.
Papers. I was nervous and I was like, I don't know, there's my seat, so I'll just take them.
I don't think he was nervous, but I thought he was great. All right, so next agenda item is community engagement opportunities. So,
Homecoming, the big one. The parade is at what time?
6 o'clock, 6 p.m. on Friday. Yep. So we're gonna have pizza and stuff for the kids, all the student athletes, everybody, starting around 4:15, I think is when middle school starts, 4:30. And the high school kids will eat. We've got 3 buses taking all the kids down to.
My backyard, basically.
Yep, to Julie's house. They're all gonna start at Julie's house.
Other side, we'll tell them that too.
Drop them right off there.
Don't turn the other way and come to my house. Stay-
So they'll kind of go up Canada Street there, turn the corner, go up by the Dunkin' Donuts, and across the street. We've got the police escort all set. Following that, the buses will bring them back, and then we'll have the event here that evening. One of the things I do want to make sure I mention, we do have the Hall of Fame induction on Friday at 1 p.m. Want to invite everybody if they would like to attend. We have 3 inductees this year. One is Dr. Whitney Karen Kirschbrown. She's currently in California. Huge, I mean, she has a number of medical patents out there and around cancer medication, curing cancers, melanomas. She actually has a recorded piece because she can't be here. She has a new child. 2 others, Jason Corbier and Jason Barney, are also getting inducted. I expect the ceremony to last about 45 minutes or so. We'll have a reception down here in the library following that, and then we're going to introduce them to everybody at the pep assembly, at the end of the pep assembly around 2:30 or so. So, if you can make it. Starts at 1 o'clock down in the theater. So,
Is homecoming, is the whole event for all of MVU, the 7 through 12, or
Yes.
is it just, it's not just 9 to 12?
correct. So all the events on that day are 7 through 12.
Except the dance.
Except the dance, yes, sorry, except the dance. Yes, the dance is not.
What's wrong with you people? Get with the program. Seventh grade graders are the most fun dancers in the world. They have no,
We're gonna call it past experience. We're gonna call it past experience.
they have no inhibitions at all. Let's go. I disc jockeyed a junior high one a few times.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean I got a tank? Trigger on.
Yep.
would anybody be able to go to homecoming?
I'll probably be around, just because my son's doing the parade and stuff, so.
Excellent.
Is it great all sports?
Yep, parade is all sports.
So even baseball?
Even the band, no, it's
Just
just
fall
all,
sports.
just fall sports.
Just
Just all fall
Okay,
sports.
that's what-
And there are 19
Cheerleaders.
There are 19
and-
teams.
Yeah.
We have 3, this fall, we have 322 student athletes, which is an all-time, it's a record for
That's
the
great.
number of participants that we have in fall sports this year. 322.
That's good.
Yep, 7 through 12.
I thought I saw something coming up in Highgate too.
Think of anything.
Huh?
Can't think of anything.
Or maybe it was just the hot turkey dinner at the church.
Sounds good.
Yeah, wait, what is
It's only
that?
like $12 a person with this huge meal. I was like, oh my God. Carry out only. Call ahead. Or was it Franklin? I saw something was happening somewheres. I'll have to relook.
There's a library panel on Saturday that I'm attending about censorship.
Oh, that
and,
looks so good.
There are experts from Vermont Library Association, and I'm gonna say it correctly, and they asked me to be a part of it, so I'll be there on Saturday morning.
Nice.
Do we have anything coming up in October? Dan, are they gonna do the drive-through or anything for
Yes,
Halloween here?
Yep, that'll be on the Friday. You're talking the haunted drive-through?
Yep.
Yes.
Give me 1 second, that is
That's in
on
the
the
agenda, I
25th.
think.
That is on Friday, the 25th. Friday, October 25th,
Yes.
Friday night.
You'll be busy.
Yes.
But we do have, Dan, you put in your report, your and Christie's report, pardon me, upcoming events going all the way through the end of October.
Mhm.
So there's concerts, all kinds of
Getting
things.
the
Yep.
Powder
Yeah,
puff.
freshmen are getting
Yes,
called in.
Powder Puff is Saturday,
The 28th,
the
7
28th.
PM.
Where Bugs Spray.
Bring your bug spray.
That one might be a little bit hard
It's
to.
so windy up there. It'll be fine.
That one might be a little bit hard though to schmooze or
No, but
anything.
it's good. Good to go.
So, yes, it is. It's a lot of fun.
Skit night, be able to show off the new theater.
Anything else? Well, if anybody hears anything, you can do it, and I'll email. It'd be great too. So.
Oh, someone had asked at the last meeting about the fall sports schedule. So when they sent it out at MVU, I downloaded it and popped it into the drive for you all. So
We
if
already gave
anybody-
Dan credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He didn't mention that he didn't put it in the drive.
Well, what was so funny is I went back to our report and I was like, well, that was so smart of Dan. Where did he put it?
I look, I'm like, Christy put that in there? Like,
I'm thinking neither of them have access to the drive.
Now Dan's like, why'd she show up?
triple overtime?
But it is very helpful.
We were talking about the football stuff. Everybody had looked for a schedule, so
Well, it was good to
there's a
have.
schedule in there.
So next would be to do the executive session.
Yep. Our next board meeting is in Franklin.
Yep.
We
24th.
think we'll have a Four Winds presentation there. I'm not entirely, we haven't confirmed that yet. And we were thinking that, you had asked about tours, that we would do that before the board meeting,
Okay.
just to keep the flow of the board meeting.
Yep.
So we can arrange a time for that and send it out to board members.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So you'd be looking for a motion to go in?
Motion to go into executive session, inviting Julie and Bonnie.
I'll make that one.
Thank you, Peter.
I'll
Does.
second.
Thank you, Megan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Elaine, did you second?
No, Megan second.
Is Rennie
Yes.
signing off?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, and
great.
you're
Alright.
up.
Rennick?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so motion carries
8-0.
8-0.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a huge honor.
7:41.
Yes.
Out at what, 7:41?
Yep.
You good?
Peter, would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the letter of not resignation, but letter of request. Where is it?
Leave of absence.
Leave of absence, thank you. And also, the request that the district will continue to pay the healthcare premiums, their portion of it, throughout the leave of absence.
I'll second that, unless
you,
somebody
Peter.
else wants to second
I think Dawn seconded it.
Dawn,
it.
did you?
Joanne, were you gonna second it? Looks like your lips moved.
Who's gonna second it?
Dawn did.
Dawn did?
Okay.
Okay. I heard Dawn, and Dawn was saying Joanne. Okay.
I thought Joanne was looking for speech, but nothing came out. I couldn't hear it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I didn't even get the words out of my mouth. I was gonna turn to you and say,
Now I
and
have to
Peter,
retype my
and-
section.
So it had Peter was the first, and
Just kidding.
Elaine was
Elaine
second.
stepped
Every
up.
time I went to second tonight, Megan will be always in my head and be like,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.